Lorna, thank you very much for joining us on Trade Finance Talks.
Thanks, Zepesh, for the kind invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Me too. So here we are in Bristol. Lorna, it would be good to get an idea about who you are. So tell me, what's your backstory?
Sure. Where do I start? I guess my career goal has always been to be passionate, motivated, loyal, committed, and to give my work all that I possibly could without losing sight of my life goals, my life aspirations, which remain very important to me. As a young graduate in banking and finance, who also practiced ballet for a number of years, discipline was and is very much a part of who I am. I soon realized that I enjoyed networking, meeting new people, listening to their stories, their ideas, how markets have evolved, how trade has changed, so international markets really, and that curiosity to learn remains my prime motivator today. Same as many youngsters, I wasn't fully aware of what my strengths or what I wanted to do. And perhaps that comes with maturity, a few white hairs, possibly in my case some sleepless nights, to truly understand who I am, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to accomplish, and to finally accept that with my little I could change things. I've been very fortunate throughout my career to work with some exceptional professionals, first in trustees, then as a repo bond trader, and finally in trade finance. I'm very fortunate as well, and I truly enjoy both my work at LFC and at ITFA.
Thank you, Lorna. I can assure you there are no white hairs.
I covered them.
On the ITFA side, can you talk about some of your key responsibilities as head of communication?
Sure. So the role has in fact evolved. So I am now also the deputy chair for ITFA, responsible for the day-to-day administration of the organization. When I joined the board, I set myself a target, that of improving our communication tools, ensuring that our message comes across to members and non-members, and to bring more brand awareness. The first thing I did was get in touch with a creative design agency, DNA, who we still work with today, to do a new website as the previous one was clearly outdated. I then set up a secretariat, which is currently made up of one full-timer and two part-timers, to really change the way we do things. ITFA has always been fortunate to be surrounded by market leaders. However, the secretariat allowed us to be more proactive, to be more efficient, and to also make use of social media tools. The association, as you know, has been transformed from one which was primarily focused on forfeiting and trade receivables to one which is much more diverse through the exceptional work of committees such as the Insurance and later the FinTech Committee. We are now close to 300 member institution, which makes us all very proud. COVID has brought its challenges, so we quickly set up a platform, started having webinars. Yesterday we were discussing at the board, we had 35 webinars in 2020, which is, exceptional considering we're a voluntary association, and 25 in 2021. As you know, Depesh, I'm a keen believer in networking, as you've seen in our NERC event a few weeks back. Probably it was one of the first in the industry. And same with the conference here. Way back in April, when I thought that we should possibly have a conference this year, I knew it was only possible if we could have sponsors. So that's another key responsibility that I have. I must say that the response was overwhelming, and I'm very grateful to institutions, both past and present, who continue to support ITFA.
Thank you, Lorna. So, a question around education. Do you believe that there is a trade finance education gap, and what's it for doing about this?
The trade educational gap, as you know, Depeche, is often linked to the trade gap itself, which currently stands at around $1.5 trillion. However, I am not convinced about that link. I think that this trade educational gap has always existed and can be explained traditionally from specialization. So I was a structured commodity specialist. I was a letter of credit specialist, and that remained my focus throughout my career. Yet, there has never been a better time to narrow, if not eliminate, this gap through technological transformation. Of course, things are changing, there's more digitalization, and we will look forward to that space. Even our youths and professionals, they're moving away from traditional banking and insurance roles to joining fintech. So that's all positive. We also have the emerging leaders, as you know, who lead their own networking sessions. Tomorrow here at Bristol, the 3 finalists will be making the presentations. And I must say, I feel, maybe I am getting a bit old, I must feel very proud when I see their passion and the quality of the projects that they bring. Apart from the emerging leaders, obviously ITFA publishes a number of publications. I'm obviously very thrilled, especially with the ITFA Digital Negotiable Instrument Initiative with TFG, given my background in forfeiting. Finally, I hope that forfeiting will be more appealing. We'll keep the same characteristics, obviously, the fundamentals, irrevocability and unconditionality, by making the technique more efficient through digitalization. We're also launching the Structured Letters of Credit Guide in collaboration with Pennington Scoop Manche and the public response to the Fitch report to Greensill. And these are just latest publications. Most of these initiatives are spearheaded by the Market Practice Committee, who you know have also done a lot of work on LIBOR.
Thank you very much. Now, another issue I wanted to talk to you about is diversity, and I think diversity in every aspect of trade is critical. How does ITFA ensure it remains as diverse as possible?
Well, Depeche, diversification in culture is as important as it is in business. This is a solid foundation for ITFA as we emerge, change, and also develop. If you look at those type of member institutions that I mentioned earlier, you will see much diversity in the products, the techniques, the type of institutions, and also the geographical presence. The regional committees, which is probably the most relevant here, all have similar mandates, yet the reach to members is different, respecting the backgrounds and traditions. We've also seen the geographic expansion now through the ITFA. However, another committee which I believe has done something quite unique is the Insurance Committee. They've brought together the banks, the underwriters, the brokers and fintech, all working for the common good of the industry, which, as we know, has been challenged in recent years, especially when it comes to regulation. The ESG committee is in its final stages of being formed, and sustainability, our new buzzword. And I say rightly so, because we have ignored this aspect of trade for too long. Then if we wanted to look at diversity, all we need to do is look at the board itself, not only from the demographic attributes, but also our own professional background and skills. One thing I love about this board is how balanced yet different are its members. We sometimes agree to disagree. We work together towards a strategy, face challenges like we had from COVID, some of them obviously totally unpredictable, and we hope to leave an association that is better than what we found. I truly hope that as ITFA we continue to expand our cognitive and demographic diversity.
Thank you, Lorna, and really good principles and values there. Now, another thing that we really support is promoting women in trade. It is predominantly a male-dominated industry, trade finance. And with that in mind, how do you believe we can get more women involved in trade?
Interesting. With that, Depesh, I would add that we want to see more women in senior positions, both in trade finance and in finance. And as you said, there's still much work to be done there. I had a quick look here in Bristol at the attendees, which, as you know, are mainly senior professionals. And only 25% of the attendees are women, which unfortunately has not changed much over the years. Yet, I'm thrilled to have some very distinguished women speakers here in Bristol, both from the academia and the industry. So women need role models and mentors to believe that if this is something that they truly want, then it can be done. Having said that, I am very much of the opinion that we need to continue to respect that some women decide to take different paths. As we know, this is a very complex subject. It's debated regionally, internationally, and probably explains why it's so difficult to get more women in senior positions and in trade. One thing that we know for sure is that people who work in finance usually work more than the 8 hours, which makes it difficult eventually. So again, coming to today's society, and I emphasize today's society because I think things have evolved over the past decades, and all we need to do is look at some of our emerging market countries to realize that there have been improvements. So coming back to today's change, I believe that the main change is when a woman decides to have a child. If you had asked me this question in my early 20s, I would have said, of course, the world had changed. Here I was, graduated like my male counterparties. I was in a management position. I started traveling for work, which was very exciting. Yet then, in my late 20s, when I became a mother for the first time, something changed, which I hadn't anticipated. I changed. I became more compassionate, more mindful, and the things that were so important to me, like promotions or salary expectations, suddenly became less relevant. One thing I wish I knew more, or I was more confident at the time, is that these children grow, they go to school, those early tough years go by, and you are able to build on your earlier achievements. We look at telecommuting. We've seen that it works, at least it works to some extent. However, it works to the disadvantage of women if suddenly they also have to homeschool and all the burden falls on them. So women need mentees, they need, or rather mentors, they need people to follow, and they also need to network more. As I said, this is my story and everyone will have their own experience. But as women, we need to network more. And the reason probably we don't is again related to additional responsibilities. I don't think there is a perfect answer to your question or one solution to your question. However, what I believe is key is for society to truly embrace that women are needed in every industry. For women who want to succeed, to exceed their educational and professional expectations, and to work even harder in those initial years. I realize we're far from the perfect picture. I want to see more partners, shall I dare say men, to request their companies maybe to take short career breaks or request flexibility so that it doesn't become only an issue for women. I truly hope that in the future we can see more changes coming our way.
Thank you, Lorna, for sharing your honest and personal story. And I think just to end on that, I asked one question. What's the most important piece of advice you'd give to a woman thinking of starting a career in trade?
To be honest, I usually steer away from giving advice to women. Simply because we are all so different. Our ambitions are different, our life aspirations are different, our family nucleus is very different. Yet, if I had to give advice, I would say, get yourself a good, or rather, a great degree. Study as much as you can, and be prepared to be the very best that you can be. Hard work will be key. And however, when you are able to offer solutions, whether to your clients, to your colleagues, to your superiors, then you are more likely to get support. Believe in yourself and your independence. Truly embrace that you are the owner of your own destiny. There will be many challenges, and some things as a woman might seem unfair. However, as I tell my kids, no one has said that life is fair, yet we have a lot to be grateful for. So rather than focusing on regrets or some issues which we can't change, try with the right support, and this support, I will emphasize, for me it's crucial, with the right support to get ahead. And believe that if this is something that is good for you, then just do it irrespective of what everyone else thinks. Always be prepared to be genuine, true to yourself, in what you believe, with the belief that you have a right to be there. And you have a right to achieve in a society which, although not perfect, far from it, allows most of us to flourish if we truly want it.
Lorna, that was so humbling, and it's such an honour to have you, a really inspirational woman and an incredible person. Thank you very much for coming to speak to us on Trade Finance Talks TV.
Thank you, Depesh, and let's hope that all goes well even here at Bristol.
Looking forward to Bristol.
Thank you.